Sarada Uchiha will never go blind, or to be more precise, it's actually Kashin Koji who will play a role in helping her avoid that worst-case scenario. Yeah, I know, it's quite a controversial title, but let's talk for a bit about Sarada and Koji. And as we all know, this isn't the first time you've probably heard about this theory, especially one related to Sarada's potential blindness. Even though a few weeks ago there was an official confirmation saying that Sarada will go blind, honestly, I think that's pretty normal and not really that shocking. I mean, we all know that Uchiha blindness is something that happens when they overuse their Sharingan powers, right? So that means this confirmation can still be excluded by a few alternative possibilities that support the idea that Sarada actually still has a chance to avoid blindness, even if she overuses her eye powers. Most importantly, I think we can all agree that certain methods, and of course her inherited bloodline from Sakura, could play a huge role, maybe even be the ultimate key, to helping Sarada completely ignore that bad outcome. Yeah, you know what I mean, right? And of course, there are plenty of possible scenarios and alternatives. For example, if Sarada does go blind, then Himawari's chakra could also be a solution or an unexpected plot twist that could even regenerate the damaged cells caused by blindness. And naturally, one of the main reasons the fandom believes Himawari's role is crucial and that she might be the key to helping Sarada avoid that fate is because of the references from her predecessors. An example is Kakashi. At first, I was a little skeptical about this theory, but we know that after Hagoromo passed on the Six Paths chakra to Naruto, he gained a regenerative ability that was beyond reason, restoring, or perhaps more accurately, creating Kakashi's eye that had been taken by Madara. We also know that with that mode, Naruto managed to reignite the dying flame of Might Guy, a life force that was moments away from being completely extinguished after his fight with Madara. This means that Himawari, whose level we know has surpassed her predecessors, such as Naruto, and with some evidence we saw for the first time after Kurama was born, was able to restore or repair Inojin's body even though he was in a fatal condition after being stabbed by a tree. The chakra from Kurama and Hima was able to heal him as if nothing had ever happened. So, in my opinion, the theory and analysis about Himawari is also quite reasonable, because if we compare it, repairing body cells and restoring them to perfection is something more unreasonable than just regenerating damaged cells, such as blindness, if in the end it really happened to Sarada Uchiha, right? And as another example, you must be familiar with another theory to avoid blindness, which is using Shin Uchiha's Mangekyo Sharingan eye. Yeah, I know that this case doesn't make sense because, as we know, Shin Uchiha isn't Sarada's biological brother, so transplanting his eyes is almost impossible. But in the end, some of the things you've just heard are only a prologue and not the main point. I mean, from various assumptions and theories, there is one thing that is actually more reasonable. And as I said from the beginning, if Koji is actually the one who will create a scenario where Sarada won't really go blind, because we can't ignore the fact that Kashin Koji is one of the important figures who has an interest in Sarada's power. I mean, we know that just to awaken Sarada's power, Kashin Koji sacrificed Yodo's life. Yeah, even though we don't really know whether Yodo is dead or not, especially after the arc in the Land of Wind battle, the latest news we got was only about Shinki and Gaara. Yeah, they both survived, and there has been no confirmation at all whether Yodo is really dead or not. But the point is, this sacrifice cannot be taken lightly just to awaken Sarada's power. And that also means that logically, it is very unlikely that Kashin Koji did not see the possibility that Sarada Uchiha would go blind. In other words, to avoid the worst case scenario, Koji will definitely and should continue to guide Sarada from behind the shadows until she reaches the peak of her eye power, which could even overcome blindness. Still talking about Sarada Uchiha and Kashin Koji. Regardless of speculation and such, we should still remember a mechanism whereby an ability or power such as the eternal Mangekyo Sharingan is not awakened through turbulent emotions, but through a specific process that does not require emotional suffering. In short, in the Naruto story, the Mangekyo Sharingan awakens due to emotional suffering, like Itachi when he lost his best friend, or Sasuke when he learned the truth about Itachi. But the eternal Mangekyo Sharingan, on the other hand, is awakened through a process that's completely the opposite of how the Mangekyo itself is awakened. So for example, if a Uchiha already has the Mangekyo Sharingan, and then they take and transplant the eyes of their sibling who also possesses the Mangekyo, that will automatically awaken the eternal Mangekyo Sharingan. One of its effects is permanent vision, meaning they won't go blind even if they overuse their eye powers. A simple example is Sasuke. After the war with Danzo and losing his vision, He obtained Itachi's eyes, and that's how he awakened the EMS. It's completely different from when he first awakened the MS due to the trauma of losing Itachi. So, in conclusion, the Mangekyo is born from pain, but the eternal Mangekyo is not like the Mangekyo Sharingan. It's not about emotion, but choice. And that's what makes these eyes literally eternal. And we also know that so far, Koji himself is known not to reveal the secrets of someone's future power unless two conditions are met. The first condition is that the power must be awakened from deep emotion. This was evident when Koji devised a strategy for Sarada to awaken her own Mangekyo Sharingan through Yodo. Koji deliberately did not tell Sarada directly, because if the power was known before its time, the awakening process would not occur. Yeah, you know what I mean, right? However, since the eternal Mangekyo Sharingan does not require extreme emotions, Koji has the potential to reveal this secret to Sarada. Even so, there is one additional condition. No one is allowed to interfere with the future that has been designed by Koji's Kashin. An example of this can be seen with Kawaki. Koji never told Kawaki how to remove his limiter because he saw that Kawaki's actions in the future could hinder the grand plan he had prepared, which was certainly more ideal. So, in general, Koji's Kashin has two options that are quite reasonable when considered from various perspectives. First, he will leak and explain how to avoid blindness as well as how to awaken her EMS. However, if it turns out that the method is to master the Byakugo seal, then it would be very easy for Koji to ask Sarada to train directly with her mother, Sakura, before the actual battle against Jura or Hidari. Another possibility is that Sarada might need help from the Kyuubi's chakra, and once again, this could directly involve Koji as the first step, since he's the one who might have seen that possibility from the future. However, if the method to prevent her blindness actually involves transferring power or something similar from Sasuke through Hidari, then Koji probably wouldn't tell her about it, because the success of that method would depend on Sasuke's decision, or Hidari's actions, rather than Sarada's own efforts. Because usually, Koji only reveals secrets about future powers that can be achieved through one's own efforts. But one thing that makes me curious and wonder is that there is a moment that I think is important but was ignored, or more precisely, skipped. Yes, when Sarada was unconscious and taken to the Konoha hospital after her chakra was completely drained. I mean, how did Sakura react after learning that her daughter had awakened the Mangekyo Sharingan? Whether it's important or not, I think Sakura, as the wife of an Uchiha, at least has a lot of knowledge about her husband's clan's history, right? And one of those things is the power of those eyes. And the real point is, if there is a scene showing Sakura's reaction upon learning that her daughter has awakened the Mangekyo Sharingan, and that the effects of its great power have caused Sarada to lose consciousness, there should be a scene that is important enough to show how Sakura can help Sarada, or perhaps more accurately, how Koji will help to discover a method in the future, and reveal in advance how Sakura will help Sarada overcome her blindness. And once again, regardless of assumptions, theories, and other speculations, in the end, Kashin Koji is the one who will direct all of this to one point. Is that right? However, out of all the assumptions and theories in these roughly 8 minutes, which ones do you think are reasonable and controversial? But if you think this is just nonsense, that's fine, guys. Let's discuss in the comments. Thank you for watching. I'm Nim without the E. See you in the next video. Bye-bye, Dadabayo.